Falls are one of the most common causes of workplace injuries and deaths. Recently, the Bureau of Labor Statistics indicated slips, trips, and falls accounted for over 300,000 non-fatal injuries and 800 fatalities in a single year. Falls to a lower level accounted for 81% of all fatal falls.
Because of this, OSHA requires the use of fall protection when working 4 feet or more above a lower level in all general industry workplaces under Subpart D, Walking Working Surfaces. OSHA defines fall protection as any equipment, device, or system that prevents a worker from falling from an elevation or mitigates the effect of such a fall.
This program will help you understand OSHA's requirements for working with fall protection in general industry environments.
Specifically, it will cover the potential hazards and protective measures you can take to help prevent injuries while working on elevated working platforms and runways or near floor, wall, or window openings. And after completing this program, you'll be able to explain how injuries by falling occur, describe ways to eliminate and prevent fall hazards in the workplace, summarize employer requirements to protect workers from fall hazards, and identify various forms of fall protection and scenarios when each would be appropriate.
In order to reduce the risk of falls, it's important you're aware of the situations that can pose potential fall hazards. There are 3 main types of hazards: unsafe environment, unsafe equipment, and unsafe behavior.
Many times, it's the environment that creates the fall hazard. For example, here, the equipment is in safe working condition and the user follows protocol and exhibits safe behavior, but the environment contains a hazardous condition. There is potential for the employee to fall to a lower level due to the lack of a guardrail system or device to prevent falls. Sometimes the equipment itself creates the hazard. In this example, the harness is unsafe. The employee exhibited safe behavior by conducting an inspection and thankfully identified the harness's defect prior to using it. Unsafe behavior also poses a potential hazard. In this example, the hazard is created by the employee. This worker is not wearing his harness correctly, as the straps are loose around the thighs. This could be very dangerous in the event of a fall.
It's one thing to be able to identify these hazardous situations, but it's another to understand what to do about them. Your employer must identify the potential fall hazards in your workplace.
The safest, most effective way to address hazards is for your employer to eliminate or control them. But this isn't always possible. If it's not possible to eliminate or control these hazards, you'll be required to wear PPE, such as personal fall protection. Your employer must also conduct inspections and maintenance of all your fall protection options and ensure you are adequately trained on how to correctly use fall protection systems and equipment.
But the responsibility isn't all on your employer to protect you from fall hazards. You need to do your part by being aware of your work environment and reporting any issues to your supervisor. Your employer will determine the appropriate fall protection method or system for your type of work operation. Employers now have more fall protection options under the final Walking Working Surfaces rule. This allows them to choose a fall protection system that best meets the needs of your workplace. The most common engineering control you'll likely find in the workplace are guardrail systems.
Guardrail systems are a physical barrier used along an unprotected or exposed side, edge, or other area of a walking working surface to prevent workers from falling to a lower level. Guardrails are required to have a top rail and a mid rail. The top rail must be able to withstand 200 pounds of outward or downward force. In other words, they must be of sturdy construction and able to support a person of average weight in the event they fall against the guardrail. The mid rail must be midway between the top rail and the surface below. These systems can be used to protect you from falls, from unprotected sides and edges, through holes including skylights, from ramps, runways, or other walkways, and into or onto dangerous equipment. Covers are secured, removable caps that are strong enough to prevent workers from falling into or through a hole. The strength of the cover is determined by the environment. For example, The strength of a cover used to protect you from stepping through a skylight is different than the strength of the one on the warehouse floor being passed over by forklifts.
All covers should be regularly inspected to assure they remain secure, intact, and can withstand the forces that may be imposed upon them.
A ladder safety system is designed to eliminate or reduce the possibility of a worker falling off the ladder. A ladder safety system is attached to a fixed industrial ladder and usually consists of a carrier, which is typically a cable that runs the entire length of the ladder, held on by mounting brackets at the top and bottom of the ladder, and a safety sleeve, which is a device that attaches to the worker's frontal attachment on his full body harness. This sleeve glides up and down the carrier as the worker ascends and descends the ladder.
If a worker slips while using a ladder safety system, the safety sleeve will lock onto the carrier, preventing the worker from falling. He will stay there until he regains control of his climb or is rescued.
A safety net system is a horizontal or semi-horizontal cantilever-style barrier that uses a netting system to stop falling workers before they make contact with a lower level or obstruction. Safety net systems are used for protection at unprotected sides when working on roofs and around openings. When using safety nets for fall protection, they must be installed as close as possible under where you're working, but never more than 30 feet below the edge of a walking working surface. Safety nets should also extend outward from the edge of your work.
It's important to consult a qualified professional when choosing the correct safety net system.
General industry employers can also use designated areas as fall protection in certain situations. A designated area allows trained employees to do temporary and infrequent work on a low-slope roof. A low-slope roof is often called a flat roof. A designated area can only be used if the work you are doing is at least 6 feet away from the edge of the roof. This type of fall protection is provided via a warning line that defines a portion of the roof in which you are allowed to work without additional fall protection. The line warns you about the fall hazard at the roof edge.
If your employer was unable to eliminate or protect against fall hazards through modifications to the work environment, they are required to determine the most appropriate form of personal protective equipment, or PPE, you'll need to use. PPE is your last line of defense and minimizes your exposure to a variety of hazards, including falls from elevated work levels or platforms.
PPE includes personal fall arrest systems, travel restraint systems, and positioning devices. Personal fall arrest systems are used to stop an employee in a fall from an elevated work level. These systems consist of a body harness, anchorage, and connector. Connections may include a lanyard, deceleration device, lifeline, or a suitable combination. Personal fall arrest harnesses have a maximum weight capacity defined by the manufacturer, which includes the person and tools. If there is a need to use a personal fall arrest harness for someone outside the stated capacity, then your employer will need to contact the manufacturer and request a suitable harness. It's as easy as that.
It's important to note the requirements prohibit the use of body belts as a part of a personal fall arrest system.
A travel restraint system eliminates the possibility of a worker going over the unprotected edge or side of a walking working surface. Basically, this system lets you travel just far enough to reach the edge, but not far enough to fall over. Travel restraint typically combines body support, like a harness or body belt, anchorage, anchorage connector, and a lanyard. A positioning device is made up of equipment and connectors that, when used with a body harness or body belt, allows you to be supported on an elevated vertical surface, like a wall or windowsill, and work freely with both hands.
Having these options and being trained on how to use and inspect them correctly will help ensure you receive a level of fall protection that is both effective and necessary. Although it's ultimately your employer's responsibility to select appropriate fall protection, you may be called upon to help. As you discuss your fall protection options, be clear about the environment you'll be working in, the job you'll be conducting, the tools you'll be using, and how long the job will take, and any other factors that may be important to mention. Remember, there are set requirements for fall protection in specific situations, such as
Hoist areas, holes, runways, areas above dangerous equipment, openings, repair, servicing, and assembly pits, stairways, fixed ladders, roofs, order pickers and other mechanized personnel lift equipment, and scaffolds.
Once the type of fall protection is identified, it's important you've been adequately trained on it before you use it.
In order to be effective, the training you receive must be delivered in a manner that you are able to understand. The training will be designed and conducted by a qualified person, and at minimum will cover how to recognize the fall hazards in your work area, how to properly minimize or eliminate those hazards, and how to correctly install, set up, inspect, operate, maintain, disassemble, and store any fall protection PPE you have access to, including personal fall arrest systems, travel restraint systems, and positioning devices.
Depending on your location, your training may also include requirements unique to your state or municipality. To maintain its service life and high performance, fall protection equipment should be inspected frequently. A best practice is to inspect your fall protection daily, but in the case of a harness, it must be inspected before every use.
Visually inspect your fall protection for any damage or broken parts. Pay particular attention to anything that can affect the integrity of the equipment, such as chemical or heat damage, brittle material, rust, mold, working connections, frays, and cuts.
It's not enough to have gone through training and know how to inspect your fall protection. Actually using your fall protection safely is equally as important.
And when you're done using it, all your fall protection equipment should be stored in a designated storage area. The storage area should be a clean, cool, dry place protected from chemicals and long-term direct sunlight.
Basic care and maintenance for fall protection safety equipment will prolong its life and contribute toward the performance of its vital safety function.
Any equipment that is damaged or defective must be removed from service immediately. It should be tagged or marked as unusable or destroyed. Any fall protection maintenance work should be performed by a competent or qualified person.
Do your part in keeping yourself and others around you safe. If you see something that doesn't quite seem right, report it to your supervisor immediately. Because falls are among the most common causes of serious work-related injuries and deaths, it's important we all comply with the regulations. By identifying potential hazards and using the right fall protection in the right way, you can help prevent falls from even occurring in the first place.